All right, unbelievable. So, I am pretty excited for the new edition of Dystopian Wars. I remember hearing about it, and it seemed like every time I checked for the rules, they weren't up. Supposedly, they were released in September, but I'm finally taking a look. So, I haven't fully digested the rules yet. I don't fully understand everything. I have looked a little bit at the Orbat, and I'm just excited for the game. I don't think I could have ever played third edition Union after I stopped playing. So I'm really interested in coming in and trying out fourth edition. Dug the old miniatures out of the garage. I can't find my platforms, but I found all of the terrain and everything else, and the unbuilt models. So let's take a look. This is beta 3 of the Union Orbat. So this is very nice. We have a table with all of our ship classes, how many models are in them, how many points, how many escorts they can have, which I think is a nice feature, and what point page everything is. By the way, this is really just me bullshitting. Do not watch this to try and get insight into the game. I don't know the game yet. I have not played 4th edition. But let's keep going. Line. So I'll tell you, I think the Chicago cruisers might be out of line. Maybe some of the other Orbats have units that can throw as many dice as the Chicago, but the Chicago, just on the brief amount I've looked, seems to throw a lot of dice. I can tell you just initially, I like what they've done with 4th edition. Patrol, I really like what they did with the monitors. They gave them maritime patrol, which prevents deep strike in a radius, and if the whole unit's maritime patrol, they can do a forward deploy. I think that's super cool. I missed the release of all of the Union Air. I did play with quite a bit of it when it was just rules, and we didn't even have concept art, it seemed like. I think we did have concept art, but we didn't have any of the models. I think right when I stopped was when they started showing the Union models. So the Bogota Carryall, that's a new unit for me. So just to tell you, the feeling I get from the Union, I like them. I think the designers did a good job with what I liked about Union. If you had played with me before or you had watched my older videos, you'll know I felt like Union was directionless. They had all these little things they were kind of weaving into, weaving out of, but they were very weak. Give them hell, I thought was a shitty rule. It's like for a huge detriment, especially because I was playing armies that inflicted a lot of hazard. You could make a good roll slightly better. And usually it didn't even translate to a full damage. It was usually all just a bunch of wasted extra hits. Now I feel like their skimmer support feels really cool. I know they're just skimmers, they're not really aircraft, but it just, I like the feel of it. I think there might be some interesting play with the hydrophones. So, I like the Patriots. I think the one thing I don't think I like is Akron are limited. Talons have changed. I like the change fine. I think they're cool. I think they're actually more useful now. hopefully the game isn't such that I'm relying on, talons that can't even assault. I After I got it out of the game, people picked up talon autogyros and they were like, "This is the most OP shit in the world," and I disagree so strongly. I have no idea because you had to drop your talon token before your model moved. So it meant your opponent had to stop a model within 20 inches of that dangerous unit and not destroy it. I don't know. I didn't really buy it, but apparently, and remember, there's a cap on how much you can do in close combat. Back in 3rd edition, you needed to do 2 maxed out assaults pretty much to kill a ship, but you could pretty much kill anything. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I like the way. Well, let's just move on, right? Again, we don't have shit for generators. We get arc generators that are fixed on certain ships. I think that 4 attack dice or 3 attack dice on a fighter is decent. Some of the fighters I've seen only have 2. And then resistance doesn't seem bad at a 3 either. I know there's better fighters. We don't have any special rules. These fighters seem completely serviceable to me, at least my initial thought. The talons you see is 5, but they treat the crew stat as armor, and they essentially just inflict critical damage, which is so. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. But what I really like is talons can do close combat as usual, ground support, and supply drops. So the supply drop, it gives a chance to. So you roll a die for each talon in the stack, and for each strike, you can lose 1 level of disorder, even if you couldn't rally. And a model cannot be chosen more than once per mission. So I think, I hate to say it, I can't really interpret these rules, but I assume that you can only remove up to 1 disorder regardless of how many you pick. Unless I'm misinterpreting that, which I very well could be. But I still think it's a cool ability, especially because we still have that shitty rule, give them hell. It also seems like hazards are not going to be uncommon. So I like it. There's a lot more ways to get like supply and things and rally. But I think it's cool. So I think Union could possibly have an advantage with ground assaults. Not only do we have talons to support them, but we have many ships that are good at ground assault, plus all the default like civilian ships that they released. And I don't know how I managed to do this. I used to really think Saratogas would be good, but then I discovered the far points, and I was just like, the far points are the way to do talons. You can't do anything with the Saratoga. Well, now I can turn them into Sumpters, and I might do that. It seems kind of dumb, maybe, but I feel like Union have. I don't know if the points are worth it, but for every island you have more troops on, you get 2 points. And there is a formation that gives you 2 victory points for each quadrant of the play area that contains at least 1 friendly scoring model within 4 inches of an island. So, I mean, potentially your Sumpters are getting you, like, 4 points a ship, right? Like, I mean, you could potentially be, I don't know if there's a formation Yeah, there's nothing like Sumter's on here. So the battle fleets are singleton. So you can only have one of each type of units in the battle fleets. You must have the main battle fleet, and you can't have more specialist battle fleets than you have main battle fleets. So that means like I could do the main and a freedom, and my third one has to be another main. So mainstay classes, these are units that you can actually take two of in a battle fleet. So, I mean, potentially I can take 2 units of Yorktown in my line here. Give him hell. I originally thought this was completely stupid, but the Love and War Games guy pointed out that so this says damage, and the way I originally interpreted that is it's like like hits, right? Like you need to have, if it's an armor 4 thing, you need to have 4 hits in order to put any damage through. No, this is raw damage, apparently. And what Give 'em Hell does now is, I guess they thought this was such a strong ability that they would not allow it to explode. And Give 'em Hell lets you explode your broadsides. It says 2 damage here, like it's a big deal. But the rule for broadside says that they just deal 2 damage. Let's open the rulebook. I need to read these missions. I'm trying to figure out. I like the idea of maybe going all in on beach assaults and getting a freedom battalion or a freedom fleet and just trying to get like a bunch of points that way. I really like the idea, and I also like the idea of taking the Union skimmers, like my Rotors and Patriots and stuff like that, and doing fun stuff with that, which fortunately are not aerial. They are, of course, surface skimmers. Okay, what are we doing here? We need advanced rules, broadside. So if we look at broadside, right here it says 2 damage for each heavy and exploding strike. Exploding strikes do not allow additional dice to be rolled. So really, all this is saying is you can keep exploding the broadside dice, which is potentially powerful. I'll have to see it in game. I think taking a disorder is a big deal. It says they cannot rally in the consolidation phase. I don't remember the exact name of the special rules, but there are special rules that like supply ships and things can give that will rally for you. And obviously your Talon autogyros can supply the ship. So I mean, potentially you can live with it. A change they did, you'll see speeds have dropped to nothing. Love, love, love it. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The ships moved way too fast. They would just zip across the table, and then the turn, like, it hardly took any forward speed from your ship. Like, on the table play, it was just a mess. So I think the slow speeds are good. Okay, so the freedoms, I already went. You see, you have to have a crap ton of units, even 2 patrol units, but there's some cheap stuff in patrol. So I haven't tried to build a list yet, but I would like to be able to take the freedom to get these victory points, and along with ground assault, I just feel like you would get a crap ton of points. But I have to look at the missions to see how many points you score in a mission, right? Like, So this was potentially scoring you. I mean, I could easily see this scoring you with ground assault, like 4 to 8 points, potentially a round. And the question is whether it's worth skewing into that or not. Far points. So you could have a shit ton of far points if you take these. Springfield Corvettes, Reliant Monitors. All right. We also get the Manifest Destiny. I think this was the Senator American one. Yeah, you either have to have the America Spec Ops or the Senator Command Cruisers as your thing. The mainstay is the Chicagos. I've got a little spreadsheet here, so I'm just, this is the stuff with ground assault and how many ground assaults you can have. I don't think the number of tokens matters that much unless you have somebody else competing with you in ground assault. Just going off of instinct, I think Imperium would probably be very good at ground assault. So I'm not certain how many tokens I really need. I feel like I can boost them with the Talons, dropping infantry off. But here we go. This is the stuff with Hydrophone. This is the stuff with Triangulate. The pool is like basically how much dice I think I could get from a facing, from their best facing, right? So Cheyennes can throw 24 dice at infinite range. Yeah, it's something to consider. I don't know if that's enough. I have no grounding for these dice, but if you look at how crazy this is. Chicago's are potentially throwing 66 dice. That's a lot of dice. They are almost 600 points. The Lexingtons have 57, which is, what's that, 9 less? There's significantly less points for those 9 dice, and they got Fusillade, and I believe Fusillade still lets you reroll something. Reroll your blanks. So the Lexingtons are, these are all the line ships. Way more points efficient than the Chicagos. I can't remember the defensive stats because I think the Chicagos are a larger cruiser. I think they're a little harder to destroy also. All right, but yeah, that 66 dice seems crazy because most of it is, well, look at this constellation. The constellation I consider high at 45, but 40 generally seems to be the top end. Philadelphia is 48, and 20 seems to be like you're fine. I could definitely see you still getting damage through at only 20 dice. And the special thing is Stockpile 8 and Depot. I don't know what Depot does, but Stockpile 8 gives them an 8-inch aura. I'm pretty sure it's an 8-inch aura that lets you rally even if you're not allowed to rally. And you also take off an extra hazard, I believe. So you could potentially take off 2 hazards even if you're not allowed to. So that's potentially another nice specialist fleet. But look at all these damn units you've got to take. Might even be more than the Freedom. You need 6 here. The Freedom you need 6 as well because you need 2 patrols. But like I said, I think there's some cheap ass patrol stuff. The Great Experiment. This is the air, I think. Yeah. Constellations are the mainstays and Acrons. Oh, this just lets you put your sentries, not sentries, your escorts. Um, to other units. It's kind of a weird ability. I don't know if it's any good, but I mean, this is the unlimited air, and if air is still very strong, then it's good just for that reason, just because it gives you as many airborne units as you want. Honorable Eclipse Company, the Union have their mercenaries, and they're basically just some specialist aerial units. So this is a mercenary battle fleet. If this battle fleet is taken as a mercenary battle fleet in a force that comes from a non-union Orbat, then any merchantmen or platform units purchased as part of this battle fleet must come from that Orbat. That makes a lot of sense, because I'm sure that I know the platforms will have variants, and I guess the merchantmen do too. What's their bonus? All models with the HEC trait gain defensive 1 system. If they don't already have defensive X, then or if they already have it, they get +1. That seems pretty nice. My understanding is air units are harder to destroy. That's what I think Speed Demon Painting and Love and War Games were saying. I kind of glossed over it in the rules, but I think they either they get their bonus die or their defense dice are like scale up, or they scale your offense dice down. I don't remember which, but remember we got blimps. Blimps still take extra damage, so watch out for that. These fleet doctrines, a lot of these, I don't know if they're the same through all armies, but I did, of course, take a look at the Empire Orbat, because that's what Jen plays. I got all of her Empire stuff out too. Let's just take a look. Fleet Doctrines 13. Okay. So forward patrol, strategic reserve, chain of commands, devil's own luck, do or die. Yeah. And then the last one looks like it's special. So mine is AWACS. So it can only be on a flagship. Attack actions made at extreme range by units in this force gain high velocity 1 and homing qualities if the initial target is within 10 inches of an Acron. So the other thing, Acrons have hydrophone, and what hydrophone does is it makes it so your vision is never obscured or hampered if the target's within the hydrophone relay. Triangulate, get increased dice by whatever their triangulate value is if there's a hydrophone nearby. I like that. I like that little coordination. It's just a fun little thing. I know what I want to do with my relays and my Acrons because of that. I don't think it's super impactful. The Force Cheyenne, even with Triangulate, I don't think throw that many dice, but I still think it's cool. High velocity, I think, reduces defense or something. I can look this up. I had looked this up earlier, but I just, this is, I don't have it all stuck in my mind at this time. Let's not try and spell velocity this late. High velocity. At the start of the count's hit step, each contributing weapon with this quality allows the active admiral to convert X heavy counters in the resistance to standard counters. So the high velocity lets you reduce, and then homing, I believe, is like the same kind of a thing. If at least half, blah, 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 blah. Resistance roll does not gain bonus dice from obscured or hampered visibility, which is worthless. I have no idea. So the hydrophone, which the Acrons have, already do this. So the homing's useless. The only thing that matters is it's giving you high velocity, which lets you convert one defense die down from a heavy counter to a counter. Okay. How many points is that? 35. I don't know if it's worth it. All right. John Henry art. I remember this John Henry box is what fucking broke me. Because I wanted, I really liked the Defiant little small ships. I forget what their class was, frigates or something, heavy frigates, destroyers or something, heavy destroyer. I really don't remember. And if I recall, they pretty much only came in this box, which can't be entirely true because I have some Valiants I put together. So somehow, some way, I did get some Valiants, which are Defiants, except they have rockets instead of. Oh my goodness! Contact fell out. Ugh. Let's go get it replaced. Let me take this with me. They but I wanted like 2 max size units, and I forget how many came in a unit. It was something like 6. It was quite a bit. And only like a 1 or 2 came in the John Henry box. And like for me to get enough, I had to buy like 12 John Henrys, and I was pissed. And I think there was a very strict. I think there was a very strict limit on how many John Henrys you could have and how many Cheyenne you could have, and it just made it so like you needed 1,000,000. All right, I can see again. All right, let's get back to it. And I really didn't like the John Henry in the old game. It just seemed like they would instantly die as soon as they came out and did anything. And then I didn't even play the unit on the table, I think. Well, no, I played the unit on the table twice. They did nothing. Because I think the math hammer on them was pretty okay. But once they were on the table, they just never did anything. And then I bought a bunch of regular platforms, and they came out with the freaking far points. I was like, oh my god, man. Thank you for releasing a real far point, but I did not appreciate the fact that I had just bought a bunch of platforms. Okay. So, let's take a look here. So, you do not drift your mass anymore, which, frankly, I'm going to be straight up with you. I think that was a good move because it was crazy to me, like, the Enterprise could move, like, 8 inches a turn. Like, that thing could just book it. You had to do a, gosh, what was it? It was like tactical cavitation or something like that. But it could just haul ass. Now you have a minimum speed. You have to move before you can turn. My understanding, you only get one maneuver, which is like a turn. And this is the amount of turn clicks, essentially, you get in that one turn. Really like it. I love that everything's slowed down. I love that the maneuverability died, because I'm telling you, Jen and I had played with Lance at he owns our local game store, and he filled the table with terrain. I'm telling you, if you see pictures of this terrain, he had so much of it. And somehow still, after a unit moved, it could shoot at a target unobscured every time. Neither player had any trouble with it. And it was like, I remember, I always hated the community on the Dystopian Wars Discord. And I remember they were like, I was trying to explain, I was like, the units are too fast, they're too maneuverable, the ranges are too long, the board is too small. If you can even see a millimeter of it, it just means you lose explodes, but that's fine, you don't need them. And then aerial units was even worse, because they just could see the whole table. But I just used to get the shittiest responses. You're just not playing with enough terrain. You're not playing with enough terrain. And then we'd post pictures of the battle, and they'd be like, oh, well, shit. Because basically the whole battlefield was covered in icebergs, and you couldn't have more terrain. That's just the reality. Like, you could not have more terrain the way these tables were set up. And I liked having a lot of terrain and stuff. Like, it at least gave you something to do, something to try to move around. But on a more typical table, it was just meaningless. So I think smashing the mobility of a lot of stuff and just crashing a lot of the movement speeds, I think it's going to be great. Because look at this, America Spec Ops. 6 inches is as far as it moves. So before, I think it was a mass 3, so then it got 3 inches of free move, and it probably had 6 inches off of that. I mean, it's like most stuff was moving 8 to 14 inches. Like the smaller ships used to have a higher speed, but when you accounted for the larger ship's mass, it usually got up that high. I could be misremembering, right? It's been a while, but who knows? So basically, if you look, the torpedo has the submerged quality in bold. That means that weapon doesn't get to stack up. It can't combine with other weapons that don't have that exact same quality. All right. But what that means also is, let's say I changed my light guns out for rocket batteries. My rocket batteries could fire with the heavy guns, and they would put the barrage. They would potentially put the barrage trait on. Let's look at barrage real quick. Some have a little barrage. If all weapons, okay, so this one says all. Some of them are like half. Like if at least half the weapons are doing this, they get the trait. But this one's all. If all weapons contributing to attack have this quality, target an airborne model, only standard strikes and the resistance roll are converted to standard counters by the unconventional target rules. Oh, ooh, that's awful. I don't know if I understand. I should look at that rule. It sounds like the strikes and heavy strikes convert to counters and heavy counters. That's a huge defense buff. All right, but anyway, let's continue on. So specifically rockets, everything has to be barrage. Otherwise, I mean, potentially, and that's a really interesting thought. You could strip out just some of the light weapons just to make it so the majority of your weapons have a trait if they only need majority. Shroud generator. They can have up to 3 escorts. The escorts give you defense dice. My understanding is defense is pretty much always rolled. So if I put 3 tokens on this guy's rolling 10 defense dice. That seems good to me. There's the crew rating. Remember, if he gets assaulted, he's going to treat that as armor. So suddenly, the 5 dice on those talons doesn't seem super crazy. But you look at only armor 5, and I consider this an only 10 hull at armor 5. You know, that's not very much at all. If you want to think about this from the old game, split the hull in half. It used to be you had X full, like, battle ready hull and X crippled hull. Now it doesn't work that way. You just have hull, and once all your hull points are gone, you start taking critical damage, and I guess once your critical damage exceeds your mass value, so once the America gets its, I think, 6th crit, I'm not sure, it'll make a catastrophic explosion and it'll die. But it still operates at full strength until that time. But I think this is repair. This is broadside. This is actions. Supposedly it's got 3 actions. Like I say, we'll learn this stuff eventually. I'm just kind of going through, really just for the hell of it, just because I'm kind of excited about the game again. The Columbia has boosted propulsion, so he's moving at 8. That's kind of fast. The Union ships all have pivot. It does, I think, the same thing it always used to. It's just my turn, I can do a 9-degree turn if I want, or up to a 9-degree turn, and I think it eats 2 inches of movement. You know, heavy gun batteries, but you can change the hard points out as you like. This system is so much cleaner than the way it used to be. And I don't know, it just looks better. It just feels more intuitive. I mean, it was easy enough in the old days, but I also like that it's custom dice. Yeah, I need to learn these numbers, and I'm also trusting my opponent to know them, or I have to check them all the time, whereas it used to be standard. It's just like, oh, that's just a heavy gun battery, and you just have a million special rules to change that stuff. Now this, kind of, you can express that in different ways, right? Like, I don't have to have, like, gunnery or whatever the heck the old skill was. They can just increase the dice of my batteries. It also makes it so they don't have to, like, they can increase the output of a large ship without having to try to design something with like a million gun slots on it. Because one of the things that I kind of ran into is the old destroyers for Union had both of their guns to the fore until they had to design them. And I think they realized there was no way they could do it with the Union guns the way the Union guns were. Because I think they could have done it with the rockets, they could have done it with the gun batteries, but there was no way to do it with the Chesapeakes. I was trying to make a conversion that could fit Chesapeakes, and those things were so huge it was just impossible. So I really believe that they did fore and aft for just logistics purposes of design, but it also nerfed the ship, which I already felt Union was way too weak and it didn't need those kind of things. So I don't know what's good and what's bad. So I try to look out for things that have more unique abilities. So if you look defensive 3, these Honorable Eclipse Company units seem to have a lot of stuff like that. Boarding parties. As for close combat, I haven't read the rules for it yet. I do know how it works because I had to figure out, or I read it on Talon Auto Gyros, and apparently all boarding works this way. You roll dice, and you can declare like what you want the critical damage to be that they're going for. And I think you actually can have as many critical damage as you beat their crew rating by. I don't think the critical damage does any damage, any hull damage to the ship. I could be wrong about that, but you know, there's a lot of very useful effects that it does. There's the classic Enterprise. Flotsam I had to look up. It just means that they're going to leave a trash token if you kill them. Flight Command 2. I might have misunderstood it, but it sounded like I would like it if it changes the mission that a SRS is on. And I was under the impression, when I looked at it, that it was SRS tokens up to the value, but I wonder if it's SRS stacks. Flight Co. Let's just look it up. SRS stacks, good. So they can actually change the mission of up to 2 stacks, which I think would be pretty useful. SRS are supposedly decent, but they're not like 3rd edition, where, I mean, there was a time when we were playing 3rd edition where it was just like, oh, it's like an SRS game. You just hide out, deploy your SRS, and just blow people up. I don't know if that ever changed in 3rd edition, but it sure felt that way for a long time. So the Destiny, I think this is interesting. So it has a mothership rule, and what it means is for Acron Sentry Rotors or Bogota Carryalls, if I attach them to this unit, they can actually have a full unit size. So I assume that means that their attacks can be added on to these guys. But also, if you have any of them arriving from reserves, they can deploy on the Destiny, essentially, like right next to it. So I think that's cool. I'm nervous about these colossal flying models. You know, I mean, I get nervous enough with a dang Acron, breaking off its stem, and they're tiny. I'm not sure how I feel about these. I'm kind of afraid to get them. The old Independence battlecruiser. I don't have a lot to say about a lot of these because I don't know what they do. Like, this has a magnetic generator. Magnetic generators don't seem to just eat SRS. I don't know if they kept the old generator in where it just freaking killed SRS, but there was a time when they did. And then we have the Pipeworks ships with the arc generators. There's a lot of stuff that just... So I guess the arc generator, it will increase... it increases the devastating and arc rating of devastating and arc rating weapons by 1. And an arc weapon that doesn't have devastating gets devastating 1. Devastating lets you upgrade strikes to heavy strikes. Arc lets you roll a number of dice to try to get a system shut down, which will make it so anything in the systems or any powered weapons stop working. This is interesting. So for some reason, the gun batteries on this, their optimal target, and I think it's reroll blanks, is Skimmer and Airborne. Or maybe they just get an extra die. Yeah, I think it's just an extra die. So they get 1 extra die for this versus those things with gun batteries. Very strange. But I mean, all the Pipeworks ships are kind of like that. Temperamental makes it hard to repair. The Gotham, this is new for me. I'd never seen this thing before. It looks kind of cool. It's got a lot of boarding. It's carrying a lot of talons. And it can land troops. It, of course, has a shallow draft because they can't land troops on the islands without the shallow draft. Strategic asset, I don't know how I feel about that. Because it just paints a target on its head, which maybe you want, right? Maybe you want to kind of trick the opponent into going after your strategic assets to deny you points, because it's worth that many points at the end of the game if it survives, is my understanding. So your opponent has an incentive to kill this guy. Not only will he get 11 victory points, but he'll also stop you from getting 5 victory points. Because other than that, if you look, I mean, it's got a couple of rockets, like light rockets at 7 each. But it's not that big of a threat, I think. But he's trying to score points in other ways, I think, by doing ground assaults and stuff like that, and just supporting people with his talons, and maybe even doing close combat attacks, who knows. But, yeah. Battle carrier, I never understood why these exist. I just legit don't get it. Flight Command 1, great. Back in the day, it's just the battle carriers didn't have enough SRS. They just didn't have enough to do anything, and they were still pretty friggin' expensive. And they didn't have good enough weapons to really do anything either. So it always seemed like a dead slot to me. If he's got a purpose now, good. Maybe when I see the SRS in action, it'll turn out 6 are plenty. Right, and maybe after some rounding errors, maybe 6 is good enough, and 10's too many, or 10's not really, it's like, it doesn't hit a certain break point, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to describe it, but like, Talon auto gyros used to have a specific breakpoint where you needed this many to guarantee a max hit on a ship. So you need this many units of auto gyros and stuff like that. There was some crappy math with it. We still have the Mexico. They've taken out a lot of special characters, it seems like, but the Mexico is still here. So his arc generator matters because he's going to turn the heavy electro cannons to arc 3 devastating ones. But yeah, I don't know. I have I got the Mexico box, so I've got another Constitution. I'm going to turn it into a Mexico. Actually, it's the Indianapolis. I don't think the Indianapolis. I think it's this is like a Chicago body or something, or a what does it have? Yeah, it's got two guns. So it's got a heavy gun forward, heavy gun aft. Oh, and then two gun batteries forward. I still think that's the Chicago body, maybe. I don't know. But so I might make I'll probably build a Mexico at some point. Just because there's no reason to have two Constitutions. I don't know that I would use one, but it's potential. The Monitor, he's got auto gyros. If I recall, I used to not be able to change the loadout of the Monitor, and I am very pleased that I can now. I don't know how pleased I am, but I remember I was really mad that Alliance got... I don't even remember what it used to be called. They have the Talon Auto Gyro version of the well, they basically have the USS Monitor, but it's not unique, and they could change out the weapons. Thank you, thank you, thank you for letting me change out the weapons, guys. I don't know how much I really need the auto gyros. And honestly, changing the weapons out now doesn't really matter. You know, because I can fire my rockets with the gun batteries. It's just a matter of, you know, maybe if I leave the rockets on, it lets this guy maybe just fire rockets at an aircraft to get the bonus from barrage. Or I can put rockets on him. I can make him fully rockets. Or put Chesapeake Gatling guns on him. Who knows? Sky's the limit. The Rio Grande. Is this a... No. I was wondering if this was a Constitution-based one. What's special about this? Oh, that's kind of cool. The rockets all have hazard and blast. That's neat. I liked these pipework ships. Like, a lot of times they didn't work the way they were supposed to, like in-game. They didn't really do much, but they're potentially cool. So senators, because there are two of them, they actually kind of have a decent output, I think. I'm not sure that I would keep the Chesapeakes on them with how slow everything is now. And these are kind of fast, right, at 7. Some of those, like the Monitor and the Constitution, have the boosted propulsion. The way this works is kind of weird. The minimum speed becomes their speed, or their normal max speed, and then they get this extra. So if I use boosted propulsion, I'd shoot forward 6, and then I could use the 2 inches to go another 2 inches, or I could use that for turning at the end. I'll have to see it on the table. I think possibly senators are a possibility for bringing. I don't know. They're airborne hunters. Flak barrage, heavy shield. You see the Chesapeakes. I I think I don't know how many light vehicles or light vessels there are in the game. It seems like Chesapeakes would just shred them. Like you could probably just devote one gun each. I don't really understand how the multiple actions work and how attack allocations work, but I just I'm not as excited for Chesapeakes as I was in the previous game. And I think it's because I used to use, or I tried to use them a lot in the previous game, and they just didn't work because they were such short range. And they have the same problem now. And they're hardly more dice at short range than the guns are at, or close range, I mean. Close range. As the guns are at, I think, S range, which is, I don't know, standard or short. But, Venture Assault Air Cruiser. But let's look at some of these line. Okay, so the Chicago. So if you look at this, just so you know my math isn't wrong, if we're going at the middle bracket, which is 10 to 30 inches, if you're in the port or starboard arc, you can get everything except for one light gun. Okay, so it's 16 from the 2/8, and that's going to become 22, and you can have 3 Chicago. So that is 66, right? Unless I'm crazy. They get heavy shield generators. They have 11 hull. And I think that's significantly tougher than a lot of these others. And look at that, 7 crew, 5 defense. And then they're 7 inches. I think they're just a very good option. You know, probably a too good of an option that's going to be nerfed. But who knows? We'll see. Oh my goodness, I've got a baby crying. All right, well, let's go ahead and just stop this for now. I don't know. I might make this private just because I was just rambling for no reason. I'd hate for people to waste their time watching this. But I'm going to take care of my babe. So good night, everybody.